Are you suffering from histamine intolerance? All right, so today is part 2 of our series where we're going to talk more about some other possibilities that can kind of mimic histamine intolerance and then also some things to help support your issues. Hello and welcome. Okay, let's dive right into histamine intolerance and some symptoms of that. Okay, so these are the common symptoms that you'll typically have with histamine intolerance. And we talked about a lot of these in the last video there. And these are the common other diagnoses that could potentially be there. You know, do you have a neuroendocrine tumor? That's probably more the rarity. Peptic ulcers or GERD or celiac disease or non-allergic rhinitis. I mean, these are all just different diagnoses that could be potentials or mimic histamine intolerance. All right, so with histamine itself, histamine has to go down certain pathways so we can get rid of it, so we can get it under control in our bodies so things can go smoothly. If things are working properly in these pathways and these enzymes are working properly, we don't have symptoms, we don't have problems. If these pathways are not working properly, yeah, you're going to have problems. All right, so it all starts with this histidine, which it's called an essential amino acid. We have to have it. Does all kinds of different things in the body. It's great stuff, but it converts through this enzyme into histamine, and there we are with our histamine. Now, in order for that to convert properly, in order for histamine to work properly, got to have a good gut. If your gut's a wreck, if you got all kinds of gut issues, if you've got dysbiosis, SIBO, all kinds of different gut diagnoses. If you have diarrhea, constipation, reflux, heartburn, your gut's not working right. Also, we have to have certain nutrients here, B6, magnesium, zinc, in order for this gene, for this enzyme to work properly. So then we get histamine. Now, histamine can go down 2 pathways here. One of the main pathways, and probably the most important pathway, is called DAO, diamine oxidase. And this is an enzyme generated from a gene. And this enzyme basically breaks down histamine into these other products so we can get rid of them. In order for this gene to work properly, we got to have iron, copper, vitamin C, vitamin B6. Also, there's certain drugs that affect that, which we'll go over in a second, that really can prevent this gene from working properly, and then, we don't get that product. Now, once we have this product, it has to also be broken down further in the next step. And we've got to have B2, B3, iron, molybdenum. Maybe you've heard of molybdenum, pretty important stuff in the human body. And so this gene right here, or this enzyme from this gene, basically turns it into this final product, which our body can deal with and doesn't cause histamine responses. And one of the things that inhibits this one, alcohol, directly kind of shuts down the process. And this is why there's some people who say, oh, every time I drink alcohol, I get flushed, or every time I drink alcohol, I feel itchy, or every time I drink alcohol, I have diarrhea. These, again, they'll get these histamine type responses, runny nose, itchy eyes, sneezing. Some people actually get that from alcohol. But again, we want this end product to be produced properly. Now, this other pathway can also help, HNMT. It again has to break this stuff down, but it also has to have these particular nutrients, B12, folate, B6, SAMe, magnesium, zinc, and then it can start to convert it and go to the next step, which also requires copper, vitamin C, and B6. Common one on all these almost is B6, very important. And then the thing is too, is there's different drugs that will mess up this pathway. You'll notice a common one that messes it up, alcohol again. So alcohol really shuts down this process and really increases histamine. So if you have an histamine intolerance, you really want to be careful with that. MAO inhibitors, you'll know what those are if you take them, and other drugs, which we're going to get to, but we definitely need these pathways to work in order for you to process histamine properly in your body. All right, so like I was talking about, there's different drugs that mess up those enzymes, and the main enzyme, though, that gets messed up is that DAO, diamine oxidase. And again, these are the things that affect it. Antibiotics, antihypertensives, so if you have high blood pressure, diuretics, which are also used as blood pressure, but also people take diuretics like HCTZ. And then if you're on any of these medications for acid reflux, heartburn, GERD, any of these things, these all can cause histamine issues. Muscle relaxers, not steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. These are all your over-the-counter painkillers, anti-inflammatories. Here's this one again. And then this is interesting, acetylcysteine. Many people supplement-wise take N-acetylcysteine. It helps with the recycling of glutathione, which is very important, but it can also increase histamine. So you got to kind of watch that, because some people, they'll take supplements and react to them. It's like, why did you react like that? You took that supplement and it made you feel itchy or watery eyes or gave you diarrhea or, your skin got a rash on it. Yeah, it is because certain things like this can increase histamine. It's like, hey, but that's good for me. Well, yeah, it is, but maybe like B1, you may be on a high dose of it and it could be generating this. All right, so these are things that can be done to help with histamine. Probiotics. Betaine HCl, because you want stomach acid. If stomach acid is not right, if it needs help, you got to do it, because if it's not right, then these proteins come in from your foods and your body starts to develop these allergic responses, not only in the gut, but globally in the body. You've got to break down proteins properly to help your immune system. So very important. And if you've got these other issues, you probably need stomach acid. These help with gut health and healing. Ashwagandha, phosphatidylserine, these help to decrease the fight or flight response and help with your brain adrenal communication. You need these, very important if you are in fight or flight mode, if you have, hey, I get anxious easily, I get a rapid heart rate, I feel like I have constricted breathing, I feel like there's a bear chasing me every day, stress levels are really high in my life. Yeah, we got to get that calmed down, because adrenaline and cortisol at high levels, which is most people with autoimmune conditions, chronic health conditions, these types of issues, those levels are high, and they both, adrenaline and cortisol, increase histamine. Melatonin is fantastic. It actually helps to halt the mast cells from their production and breaking down. So it works great. It's not just for sleep. We always think of melatonin and sleep. It does a whole lot more. Probably its biggest job is helping your immune system. I love that stuff. We have another video on that too you can watch. Black cumin seed oil with for inflammation. Quercetin, resveratrol, berberine, also for inflammation, especially this particular type that self-perpetuates in the body. These are fantastic. Because if you have inflammation from other sources in your body, then it's going to drive histamine. Zinc, we talked about P5P. That's the activated form of B6. Remember I was talking about B6 plays a giant part in diamine oxidase, in that enzyme. So this is a very important nutrient here. And vitamin B12, spirulina, alpha-lipoic acid, cordyceps, which is a mushroom, vitamin D, extremely important, and vitamin K. Now, also, hey, why don't I just take some DAO, diamine oxidase, that enzyme? Can I just take it? Absolutely. So this helps to break down histamine. It's not the cheapest supplement, but it does work well. It's got plenty of research behind it too. So what are some things you can do to directly block histamines? Onion, artemisia. Again, the list goes on. There's all kinds of things here that work really well. A great one is chamomile tea before bed if you have allergy issues, to help with sleep. But or some people will do some of these others as teas during the day. But all of these tend to work really well. And then above the histamines, the mast cells. Now, if you remember from the past video, mast cells are made by your bone marrow, very important part of your immune system, but they're the ones who release this histamine into your system. And if they get overactive, then we start to get all kinds of histamine intolerance issues. So we want to stabilize those mast cells. So again, all of these things can be great for that. Luteolin, valerian, peppermint. A lot of people do peppermint tea, which is fantastic. Turmeric, curcumin. Again, here's your quercetin. All of these, again, stabilize mast cells. So what's really our game plan here? Number one, we've got to optimize the stomach acid. We need to take HCl, maybe apple cider vinegar, something that works for you that helps to get your stomach acid correct. Again, if you're having GERD, reflux, heartburn, watch our video on that. But also, again, if that's out of control, you got to get it under control before you can get all this under control. Limbic system, vagus nerve. If you have physical stress, emotional stress, chemical stress, you've got to deal with those. Get all the stress out of your life that you can, and the things that you can't, you got to modulate. You got to deal with in some way. So limbic system, vagus nerve, we talked about some things that help that fight or flight system, like the ashwagandha and the phosphatidylserine to help your adrenals too. And the brain that controls those. Gut repair, you got to get and we talked about a couple of things for that too. Probiotics, extremely important. Remember, probably the top two things, gut bacteria, taking a probiotic, and P5P, or the activated vitamin B6. Those are probably two of the things that I see some of the biggest results with, because they directly help that DAO gene. Low histamine diet, I put that on the previous video. Watch that video, download that diet. I put it on there so you can download it for free. The thing is you want to try that diet for like 2 weeks. If you notice a difference, hey, you probably have a histamine issue. If you don't, you probably don't have a histamine issue. You've got to get down to global inflammation. You got to find out, hey, do I have something else inflammatory going on in my body? If you have chronic health condition, autoimmune condition, Lyme disease, some other infection, you've got to get down the global inflammation first. So you got to find out, do I have parasites, candida, gut bacteria? Is there something else driving these issues? And if you have these issues and they're chronic, then you got to say, why is my immune system not dealing with this? Well, then you probably have chemicals or heavy metals. All right, histamine blockers, I made a list of those for you on earlier in the video. Mast cell stabilizers, there's a list of those for you in the video. Circadian rhythm, some supplements, actually that and HPA axis will go together, but these are the things that help your adrenals, help that, like the ashwagandha, the phosphatidylserine, getting stress lower in your life, doing things to stimulate your vagus nerve, which we'll do a video on. All these things can be extremely helpful. All right, so hopefully that gave you some great information, maybe more of a game plan to move forward to help deal with your histamine intolerance or even your mast cell activation syndrome. So, try this information, go through it all again. Make sure you talk to your doctor before taking or starting any supplements or programs. But God bless, and I'll see you on the next video.